Today, we are back at John Kufleitner's, located just outside of Salem, Ohio, to take a look at this 1976 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. But first, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that are off the beaten path. We dive in deep, give specs, period correct ads, and we show perspectives other car channels simply don't. If that sounds of interest to you, subscribe, hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. If you'd like to get in touch with me, there are a couple different ways. Leave me a comment in the comment section. I read every single comment that I get. And get this, the response is from me, not a secretary or a computer bot. You are talking to the real me. And it will always be that way. The second way is we recently just made a Facebook page that correlates with this YouTube channel. There is no obligation to join. I'm just making you aware that this group is out there and it exists. And the cool thing is about the group gives you the opportunity to share your stories, memories, experiences, as well as your rides on Facebook. Another cool feature about the Facebook group is as long as it's car related, it will fly. If you have a YouTube channel yourself and you would like to promote your YouTube channel on there, I'm not going to be a jerk and take it down or anything like that, because the end goal for all of this is to make more people, especially in the younger generations, fall in love with the car hobby. So if you're interested, the link is in the description. Also, if you dig this content, if you like this episode, please like this video so more people can see it in the future. Let's talk 1976 Cadillac. 76 was another end of the era for Cadillac. This was it. This was the very last time Cadillac promoted the heck out of this year, saying changes are coming. And if you'd like a nice huge car that has an option of putting down the top, this was the last year. This was your last chance to do so. Side note, 9 times out of 10, if something is marketed as a, I'm using air quotes, you can't see me, collector's item, more often than not, it's a cash grab. They just jack up the price and just collect on all of the collector's items. That's just my opinion. Lincoln did it with the Mark V. They had the collector's edition as well as the Diamond Jubilee edition, and they also offered different designer divisions like Givenchy, Bill Blass, Cartier. Back to the 76 Eldorado. So 1976 was the last year for the Eldorado convertible until 1983 when Cadillac decided to bring back the convertible. Side note, Cadillac brought back their convertible probably just about the same number of times as Kiss reunited for their last concert tour. And you can bet that in 1983, GM buyers sued the automaker when they reintroduced the Eldorado convertibles, arguing that they were deceived. Built on the E-body platform that is shared with Oldsmobile Tornado and the Buick Riviera. The interesting thing is the Buick Riviera uses rear-wheel drive powertrain, while both the Eldorado and Tornado use front-wheel drive. One comment brought up while doing the Tornado episode just a few days ago, very interesting point out, this might be the only platform to do front-wheel drive and offer rear-wheel drive as a different car. I know auto manufacturers could do front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, but is there another platform that shares front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive? Thank you so much for pointing that out. It's super interesting. If anybody knows any other platforms that share front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, in the comments section below. 76 Eldorado is considered 9th generation, which was produced from 1971 to 1978. 1976 Cadillac Eldorado could be had as a 2-door coupe or a convertible. Psst, last year for the convertible. Let's talk specs. 224.1 inches long, 79.8 inches wide, 54.1 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 126.3 inches, weighs 5,150 pounds. Price was $11,050, which was equivalent to you spending $57,543.70 in the year 2022. Total 1976 Cadillac production numbers, 309,139 units, of which total Eldorado production was 49,184. Of that number, 35,184 was the two-door coupe variety, and the remaining 14,000 were the convertible. It's also important to point out that the last 200 of the 14,000 convertibles produced, the last 200 made were a special edition called the Bicentennial Edition, commemorating America's 200th birthday. Moving on to the engine, 500 cubic inch displacement. It was front wheel drive, V8, 8.2 liters, 190 horsepower at 3,600 RPM, 360 foot-pounds of torque at 2,000 RPM, with a bore of 4.3 inches and a stroke of 4.3 inches. Compression was 8.5 to 1. 5 main bearings. It was fed with a 4-barrel carburetor, and the block/crankcase was made out of cast iron. For 1976, Cadillac also offered a fuel injection version. It was a $647 option, which increased horsepower to 215 at 3,600 RPM. And wait for it, 400 foot-pounds of torque at 2,000 RPM. The only transmission available was a 3-speed Hydromatic, which was an automatic unit. So side note, we talked about this a little bit with the Toronado, that it had no torque steer. This car has a bigger engine and has more torque, and it does not suffer from torque steer either. And a lot of people said that it was because the way the engine's mounted in there, it uses a transaxle and the half shafts are equal lengths. Whereas in modern cars, for whatever reason, sometimes the half shafts are different lengths, and that's what causes torque steer. The thing that gets me is if the engineers figured it out back then, why can't they figure it out now? Most of the cars that have torque steer don't even have 300 horsepower. I've driven cars that have less than 200 horsepower that suffer from torque steer. Let's talk features and standard equipment. For 1976, Cadillac gave you for free front-wheel drive the 8.2 liter 500 cubic inch displacement V8, which was the last year in 1976, automatic level control, 4-wheel disc brakes, an AM/FM single seeking radio as standard equipment. Also had variable ratio power steering. Some sources said that it also came with an airbag. In the comments section, is this the first car to offer an airbag as standard equipment? So we're doing a lot of side notes in this episode. I really wanted to go back to JK Galleria because I drove this car and it has that knob right behind the steering wheel. It almost looks like the turn signal indicator to the Nash Metropolitan, but if you move it to the left, the steering gets really loose. If you move it to the right, it tightens up, and that's the variable power steering. But I've had people say that, oh no, that's for the telescoping steering wheel, or it does not control the power steering feel at all. But I drove it. I know what this feels like. And I talked to a Cadillac engineer that was interested in the car, and he said, yeah, that's what it does. So I'm going to go back there Monday, and I'm going to shoot a short video and show you. If I'm wrong, I will call myself out for it right there. Right. On to more standard features. Automatic climate control, power windows and power door locks, power antenna, lamp monitors, 6-way seats, soft frayed glass, 3-speed windshield wipers, automatic parking brake release, a quartz digital clock, automatic level control, power steering, steel belted radial tires. All right, let's talk options. Not getting into all of the options, just some that stood out. Tilt and telescoping steering wheel was $102. Cruise control, $104. Rear window defogger was $77. Twilight Sentinel. The Twilight Sentinel was their automatic headlight unit. You could set it to a timer. I had this on my Lincoln, and like I would set it to a timer. I'd clap my hands and the lights would go off, and my friends would be like, how did you do that? You just set it to a timer. You could set it, I'm not entirely sure how long you'll go out to, but you could leave them on for a long period of time, and once the timer goes off, the lights go off. It's a very cool feature. Guidematic. Automatic headlight dimmer, $54. Lighted vanity mirror, $44. Illuminated entry system, $52. Let's talk about this door panel. These doors are very, very heavy. There's lots of different materials. This is like a leather material, and down here as well. It's got cracks in it, just like most of them do from this era. This is all false wood, but just check out this door handle. and this is the armrest. This is the door handle, and this is the armrest. Door handle to open the door. Here's the control panel on the door panel. These lock the doors. These are for the electric windows. These two control the front two windows, and these control the back two windows. And here's a button to lock the windows. This controls the mirror. Notice it has a carpet material down here at the bottom and lights to let you see getting inside. Getting inside, here's the seat belts. The seats are powered. I'm going to explain all these button switches and knobs. There'll be the slow motion thing later on when we talk about the car. Look at these wipers. Here's the wiper switch. Here's the windshield washer button. 3 speeds, low, medium, and high. And then you could set it to a delay. This one's got the automatic Twilight Sentinel, and you can adjust if you want them to stay on or not. If you want to override the system, you pull these lights out. Here are the climate control settings. This is a climate control dial to adjust the temperature. And here's the settings. You have off, economy, low, auto, high, bi-level defrost. This car has cruise control, which is activated with this switch. Here is the gauge cluster. Top speed of this car is 100 miles an hour. Speedometer goes up to 100 miles per hour. Park, reverse, neutral, drive, low. The fuel gauge is up on top here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right in the back there. And then there's a panel of idiot lights that shine right here in front of you. The clock is right in here as well. Moving to the steering wheel. This is what first person would look like looking over the hood. Lots of room underneath this steering wheel, and if there isn't enough room, this has tilt wheel. This control stick here moves the wheel up and down to the desired position. This stock here does the turn signals, as well as there's a button on the end for cruise control, but you have to turn the cruise control on before you hit the button. There's a nice lever here, and what I found out is this adjusts your steering wheel feel. If you want it more assisted this way, to tighten it up, you go this way. Over here, there's a bunch of switches. This is for the convertible top, this is for the rear defroster, and this is for power antenna. This one here, this toggle switch, controls the passenger side mirror. Passenger side door panel has the window button, locking switch, ashtray, as well as cigarette lighter inside there. Door handle for the rear passengers to get out. Radio with radio controls. It's AM, FM radio. Ashtray located right below it. Cigarette lighter there. Here's the glove box. We got to do the glove box test. There's a light above the glove box which doesn't seem to be working. Vanity mirrors and lights for the passenger side. For the driver's side, doesn't have them on the driver's side. This has armrests that fold down in the center, which are very nice. Just look at how that operates. There's a whole hinge and everything that's exposed. On to the glove box test. Here's our glove box test subject. Here's my hand for reference. Here's our glove box in question. And if the camera does not fit in the glove box, that doesn't mean that the car is a bad car. I just like shoving seemingly large objects into tiny spaces. It fits in the glove box. So just check this out. Getting into the rear, there's a nice light here so you can see. Getting in the rear, you just push the seat forward. There's a nice handle on the back of the seat. There's also carpet on the back of the seat. And this is how much space you have to get in to the rear seat. All right, sitting in the rear seat, it is very comfortable back here. It's very spacious. The seat is actually reclined a little bit, which I'll show you. The seat's actually reclined a little bit, so it's very nice and comfortable. And this seat can move up a little bit. There isn't a whole lot of space there between my knee and the back of the seat, but it's not claustrophobic. It doesn't feel like you're gonna die back here or anything, like you're just shoehorned back here. Armrest, as well as window switches, cigarette lighter, ashtray for both sides, that side, and there's one on this side as well. Ashtray, cigarette lighter, and window switch. These are when the convertible top is down, there's a cover that goes over top of the convertible top. They're fiberglass and they latch into this. There are no coat hooks because it's a convertible. This is what I look like in the 76 Eldorado. There is lots of headroom, and like I said, if there isn't enough headroom, this is a convertible, you can put the top down. Nice big spacious trunk, full-size spare back here underneath this cover. Bumper jack. This has the power trunk feature. Trunk pulls itself down and it works. So let's talk about this drive. This car drives like nothing else that I have ever driven in my life, even like the Tornado. This is very closely related to the Tornado, and I drove the Tornado before I drove this one. This one has a lot of extra weight, has a little bit more torque. This might be the best riding car that I've ever been in, and that's saying something because I really want to do a this versus that, this versus the Lincoln Mark V. I know that this went head to head with the Mark IV. I don't have access to a Mark IV right now. I have access to a Mark III and a Mark V. And I could do a this versus that versus any of those, really. Just curious, is that something that you guys would be interested in watching? The Cadillac Eldorado convertible versus a Continental Mark III or Lincoln Mark V? In the comment section below. If you guys, if I get enough support, I will totally do that episode. But nobody watches the this versus that. That's why I'm asking you guys if you'd be interested in watching it. Anyway, getting back to it real quick. I think the Continental Mark III had more space in the back seat as well as the Mark V. But this rode better than both of them. And it's front wheel drive, but it doesn't handle like a front wheel drive car typically handles. It's very floaty. It is like riding on a cloud on the most comfortable leather sofa that you've ever owned in your life. And it's just really, really cool. And I never thought that I'd like the Tornado or this Cadillac Eldorado because they're front wheel drive. Because front wheel drive it has a stigma about it, really. And I just thought it would suck. But this car is pretty awesome. It probably doesn't get very good gas mileage considering it's an 8.2 liter, 500 cubic inch displacement V8. So the ride is very floaty, very comfortable, it doesn't nosedive nearly as much as I thought it would once hitting the brakes. There's also another option I totally forgot to mention. So it's got these lights on the fenders, both on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. There's 3 light bulbs inside. One light bulb will tell you if your left or right turn signal indicator is on, if the lights are on, and if the bright lights are on. Very cool feature. On to the pros and cons. I am getting all of these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, Blue Chip Auto Investments, 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth in the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. So I was flipping through these pages to find the Cadillac Fleetwood Eldorado convertible, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, man, that would be totally ironic if it wasn't in this book. The most collectible Cadillac ever, not in it, but it is here. So on the positives, minor historical interest, as big and luxurious as they come in reasonable supply yet. Against it, very high running costs, hardly a great Cadillac. I think it's definitely aged well, but the problem is it's huge. Everything now is vastly, like, this is about the same size as probably, I would say, like a Chevrolet Denali truck. One more thing I totally forgot to mention is this thing has cornering lights. There's lights on the fenders. When you hit the turn signal, right or left, they shine to allow you to see around a corner. It's a feature that I totally miss nowadays. All right, moving on to Name That Tune. I'm looking for the band as well as the song title. First person to do that, their comment will be pinned to the top of the comment section. Boy kiss girl, take a trip around the world. Hey, hey, bop shoo bop bop shoo, hey, hey, bop shoo bop shoo, hey, hey, bop shoo. Yes, say you do. All right, a hint for the song. That is a 1960s song. All right, thank you everyone for coming out and watching this. If you dig the content, please give me a like so that more people can see this video in the future. And until next time, toodaloo!